Welcome to the Purpose for Life podcast. I'm your host, Suzanne Roberts, back again. I'm the author of It's Deeper Than That and the founder of The Great Reconnection. And I am thrilled to have with us today an amazing human being who's a cherished friend, a colleague, and so much more. And I know you are going to be inspired and galvanized today listening to her. And welcome, Sharonda Crome, for being here with us today.
Thank you. This is exciting to be here with you.
Thank you so much. Sharonda, we met a long time ago when Sharonda came up to me and asked if she could be. No, she didn't ask. Actually, wait, she informed me that she wanted to apprentice with me. And so we've been on this journey together. And along the way of you growing and developing, there are ways when we're teaching together that you drop what I call truth bombs, like that everybody stops and goes, whoa, just wait just a minute here. So I'm going to ask you two questions and you can decide which one you want to answer first. But why is truth important to you? Why is it important to speak truth now? And then I want to go into my favorite one of your truth bombs, which is choose your hard. So,
Mhm.
which is a truth. I think it's one of your first truth bombs that hits so hard and has stayed in our curriculum ever since, like choose your
Yeah.
hard. And it's in
Yeah.
the documentary you talk about it. So if you all haven't
Yes.
listened, go to unifyingsolutions.com, click on the book portal, and then you can watch the documentary in there. So thank you. It's a great documentary. All right. So truth. Why truth? Why now? And what's a truth bomb? And then choose your hard.
Why now truth? I can speak to why now truth for me. And that is I just don't want to be defined by someone else. So I have to know what's true for me so that I can express what's true for me, so that I can choose what's true for me. Otherwise, I fall victim to whatever agenda is pushed. You know, I am, a victim to whatever circumstances are placed before me, thinking that I don't have a choice. And the truth is, there is choice. That's true. There is choice, and that means that I have to become sovereign. And to be sovereign is to be outside of whatever the world thinks is true and what systems think is supposed to be true for me. Like I don't have a deciding factor in that. And the realization that I do also comes with accountability. So now I know my truth, and it's still opening for me what my truth is. That means that there's some accountability. That means that there's a choice that I can make. And that means whatever choice I make, whether it's to, you know, be in the mainstream sometimes, or sometimes to go my own way and trailblaze, I'm doing that consciously more times than not these days.
Can you give a living example of a way the world might see you that you've internalized and you've had to become sovereign around?
The first one that comes to mind is strong Black woman. That means workhorse. That means taking care of everyone else first. That means coming to everyone else's aid, whether that is through a movement or through a personal relationship. That means not displaying my vulnerability, how I really feel about a situation, how to express my needs. I've got it. I've got it. Endurance, push through. hyper independent, hyper vigilant. Whew.
Exhausting. Oof.
Yes, very much exhausting. And that that was an identity that I carried proudly
Mm.
even through the endurance and exhaustion. And when I didn't feel like I could be strong, I equated that to failure. And so, how relieving and awakening and liberating, to understand that I don't have to be that thing. That is something that was made up. That was a made up idea, a made up trope that served the structure in a lot of ways. It served me too because I wore it as a badge, and it was made up to serve structures, to give until there was nothing left. And so, understanding that, number one, that was made up. Number two, there is something else available, which I don't know if I would have learned that outside of the polarity space.
Mm.
Everything was just something I had to survive through. Like, I can get through this until the next thing. And then I wasn't accomplished until this thing was over and something else that I thought or I've chosen, I could walk towards. And I realized that I do have a choice and I can define myself for myself. And so that meant looking inward and actually exploring what is my truth? What is it that I desire? What is it that I want to feel? What is it that I want to have curiosity about and turn toward? What is it like to put myself on the list? To
Where
care to,
where on the
yeah,
list?
first. First, I wasn't even on the list, to be honest. I
Mhm.
didn't I didn't even know that was an option for me at some point. Like, oh, I actually get to be on the list. And then it was, "Oh, I actually get to be first on the list?" How, revolutionary. Um, and so and both things are hard, and I think in that polarity space, having that realization that I could keep moving in this way, which is hard, which is exhausting, which is not my true identity. It was fitting in, it was giving very much fitting in. And then there's this other choice that was hard yet liberating, unpracticed, unfamiliar territory, terrifying, and life affirming.
And when you talk about turning inward to
Mm.
discover who you are, what are some of the key either practices or questions or curiosities that have helped you navigate a space that was unfamiliar and scary and unknown in a certain kind of way?
Yes.
And along the way with that, was there enough reward in doing so that kept you going, even if it was hard?
So the practices were, number one, all the practices I learned in polarity therapy, but most importantly, collective power. Because strong Black woman requires isolation. And I didn't realize how isolated I felt in a room of people. And collective power helped me to shed a layer at a time. And there's lots of layers. And so a layer at a time, a layer, and still, there's no there. So still in the practice of just a little bit at a time, shed some more, a little bit at a time, shed some more. And each time practicing collective power. The other practice was journaling, um, stream of conscious journaling. And I would start with the question, What do I want? And then I would write, and not think about editing or, if someone else is going to read it or anything like that. Just 5 minutes. Write. I would say those are the top two. And then behind that would be developing a morning practice that was slow and where I would sit and where I would just move about slowly so that I could sense things, right? Because I didn't have the capacity to sense things. The only thing I could sense was danger. And so to have the opportunity to hear the rooster down the street or the opportunity to, um, have my tea or coffee and sip it slowly, and just so that I can have an experience of whatever it is I'm doing, you know. So I would call the top three: collective power, journaling, stream of consciousness journaling, slow mornings, which include sitting.
So you literally put yourself on the page journaling so you could start to externalize your own voice and listen, right? That sounds like really putting yourself on the page. For our listeners, that because the way we do Polarity is so unique and different. So
Yeah.
most people don't associate collective power with polarity, probably globally, but Polarity is really the great reconnection. They're intertwined. They're a unique system of experiencing the living system of energy that's inside of everyone and
Yes.
everything and getting to know it inside of us. But would you explain from your own perspective what collective power is and why that shedding happens within collective power?
To stand in a circle of people, and as much as I would try to stay in my own little hole, that's the truth. It's a reflection of the truth about nature and the truth about human nature, right? So to stand and it not be about personality, and to ground and root and connect, and to, first of all, what got me was my radiance is required piece.
Hmm.
um to know that my rate to have my radiance in the space does not need to cause another person's radiance to be diminished, right? So we can all be blinding forces in this practice, And so to have that connection, that ground in a space that required my radiance, that was mind blowing in the first place. And then to amplify our inner radiance, amplify our aliveness. So we have our radiance, we have our ground, we have our aliveness, and we're amplifying it, right? And that requires me to feel myself so that I can be here with other living energy. I have to feel my own aliveness. I have to feel my own radiance. I have to feel my own. So I'm not looking out at what everybody else is doing. It's a natural, from my experience of it, it was a natural draw inward with the benefit of experiencing it with other people, with other human beings. So, yeah, that interplay with the turning inward and to have the experience of other people turning inward and then amplifying together, just talking about it like makes me drop in even deeper.
What's interesting that you say that that's the first most primary important practice in terms of sovereignty. Because if
Yeah.
you're thinking about it, the way we build collective power is that we're uniting around the fact that we're all alive together, right? And that aliveness can hold all of our difference, just like a diverse forest
Yes.
where all trees reach for the sun, right? And
Yes,
and y and
definitely.
so it can hold all this aliveness and difference without sanitizing oppression. So like you said, your radiance is required for the health of the living system, and nobody's trying to dim yours down to be radiant themselves, and you're not trying to dim. We're just inviting everyone in to radiate, and that moving from vigilance to awareness is the difference with attention. And when we say turning inward, we're turning our attention inward to amplify, not to disappear or isolate. And
Yes.
you are already isolating, and to feel alive with other beings. And our rooms are always so very diverse, so
Yeah.
we're actually practicing a living forest together. But it's
Yes.
so interesting that that's the practice that helped you find sovereignty the most, which makes sense to me. But I'm curious
Mm.
how that makes sense to you.
Because it was the hardest thing. I think I walked in with an idea of who I was, right?
Mm,
I didn't know I was an isolationist. That was revealed during the practice of collective power, because during that, I got to experience the difference
mm,
between isolating and resting deeply inside. I think I'm going to say it was the most important piece was because of the revelation that it gave me about what I do when I'm alone and what is available to me in a collective. When we're all remembering, as you said, we're remembering together. Our personalities don't matter in this space, and we don't have to diminish our lived experience. We get to give it to the center. So I don't have to hold my experiences of oppression around a diverse group.
right.
I can, so without all of that, I could like actually listen to what is really what I am, who I really am. I could really hear my own voice and
Mm,
not hear the voice of structures and, the people who benefit off of us being asleep.
powerful. And are you able to now, when you're in your own home, have that felt sense of being part of an inner web and knowing your own radiance?
Yes, because it's not an idea, right? It's not, oh, I am radiant, which I am. This is the truth, right? And it's an embodiment. So I have an imprint from day one. And the imprint, the groove gets deeper each time we practice. Each time I practice, my groove gets deeper. The awareness is greater every single time and deeper. So, because there is no there, I get to practice this hard and make different choices if I want to, you know?
It's so interesting listening to you because I hear these juxtapositions of like enduring and resting, fitting in and listening, of
Mm.
uh, vigilance and awareness. And if you don't know you're vigilant, if you don't know that you're enduring, and you don't know that you're only outward informed, then you don't know what else to choose. But when you begin to get awareness, which is why I'm hearing collective power was so pivotal for you, because it sort of disrupted all those things. It
Yes.
required you to not perform, but to be real, right? Really alive,
Yes.
right? So that was like vigilance versus awareness. It had you feel yourself. You said all of a sudden you had to feel yourself, then you could start listening to yourself. So that would disrupt performance versus being, right?
Oh,
And then also
yes.
in collective power, you like have to rest to radiate. So like there is no, you're not really giving or perform, so like all those three things that you talked about pretty deeply gave you a pathway towards your sovereignty. And then you've added practices in that help sustain it and help you grow so that you can keep listening. You can keep putting yourself on the page so you can discover what your truth is
Yes.
in this moment, ever evolving, and you can listen. And over the years, I've seen you, and it's an evolutionary process. You don't go from enduring in vigilance to resting tomorrow. But I've seen you make resting a priority. And,
Mm.
you've worked hard at it in a generative way, but it is harder work. Not harder, that's not what I mean to say. It is hard work to dedicate yourself and be accountable to being alive.
I love that. Be accountable to being alive. That just resonates so deeply. Be accountable to be alive. That's a truth bomb.
That's
Yeah, it's so living, being alive is one thing. Experiencing aliveness is something deeper. And for me, it comes from an inside out place. Being alive or living, existing comes from outside, impacting in place. It's like, oh, I'm responding, or excuse me, I'm reacting to the world around me from habit or to fulfill this need or
Mm.
chase something that I think is outside of myself. But aliveness gives me everything I need to respond and to have clarity and to, again, give me choice.
When you think about, once again, coming back to truth, I'm inviting Sharonda to have a little social media thing called Truth Bombs because Sharonda has so many of them, and to speak truth, So, and I know that right now it's important to you to bring voice to truth as you know it,
Mhm. That's right.
right?
That's right.
What's living in you right now that's asking that of you?
First, let me say that it's amazing that you're inviting truth because I've been doing work around my throat chakra. I did some before we got on the call, actually. But what's dropping in for me is, you talk about where are we reacting from or where are we responding from? Our wound or our truth? You say longing, but I'm going to say truth in this moment. Am I reacting from my wounding or am I reacting from my truth? So understanding that I have wounds, also understanding that they don't define me. It was an experience to teach me and how I arrived here today. So I had a choice, and I could remain the person that blah, blah, blah happened to, right? And reacted in every aspect of my life from this human being that these things happen to. The truth for me is yes, these things happened. And I have had time and care and experience of allowing that to dissolve into the background, so while it can inform me, it doesn't define me. And so, because I define me, or I'm defined by how my soul wants to move through me, and that is like the filter.
Mhm.
So there's a choice. Am I defined by it, or I am informed from it?
I love
And that
that.
helps me move. That helps me move in the way my soul asks me to move. My soul wants me to know itself, and it wants me to share the wisdom and the knowing that lives in me from that perspective, not from the wounded's perspective.
I love that, Sharonda. From the wisdom and knowing that lives in you. That's where your truth
Yeah.
comes from, the wisdom and knowing.
Yes.
We're going to have to wind down for today. What a journey this has been. Thank you. I love to ask my guests this question. What do you think the purpose for life is?
The purpose for life is uncovering, uncovering your truth. How does your soul want you to experience itself, right? How does your soul wants to live through you? How does my soul wants to live through me?
Thank you. Thank you, Sharonda, for being here
Thank
today.
you.
How can people get a hold of you?
I have the Radiant Woman Substack, and I can also be reached at the Radiant Woman Co. as in company.com. So that would be the radiantwomanco.com.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here. Absolutely. Listeners, thank you for being with us here today, wherever you might be listening from all over this world. We are so delighted to have you here. Subscribe, and you'll learn about who's coming up next. We have a variety of human beings listening and leading their lives on purpose. And we, any questions you have, or if you want to come on the show, let us know. We'd love to explore that opportunity with you. So thank you for being here. And until next time, I'm Suzanne Roberts, the host of The Purpose for Life. Thank you.